What's up, my comic comrades? The first Batman tie-in to the DCKO event titled DCKO Knightfight has hit stands where it puts Batman in a different reality fighting other versions of himself. It's also the issue that reveals he's still alive or come back to life after being eliminated in DCKO issue 1. All sorts of amazing stuff goes down in this issue, so let's just jump right in. The issue starts off with us seeing a traditional black and gray batsuit Batman running and or jumping off of rooftops as his captions say, "Gotham, another night, another crime. This is what I trained for. My mission to protect the city I call home. But my body's age betrays me. The sound of my bones cracking is drowned out by the sirens. Gotham's lullaby. Professor Pig and the Circus of Strange are back. Police chatter on the radio said they kidnapped a whole school bus full of kids, an audience for their twisted circus. I race there as fast as I can to get there in time to save the hostages and take down Pig and his horrific followers. I'm too late." But on the next page, we see even though he's late, his sons are not, as we see Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake, and Damian there saving the day. Batman's captions continue to say, "I should have known, my sons. There was a time when I was alone in Gotham, but that was a long time ago. Now my family patrols the streets with me, watching them work. It's impossible not to see myself in each of them. The leader. For a while, I thought Dick would replace me, but he's built a role in life of his own. He leads countless heroes into bigger battles than I ever thought possible when I started. The rebel, the survivor. I worry about Jason's penchant for violence, but then sometimes I envy him. He embraced his anger in a way I never could. The brains, the detective. Tim is always thinking, always planning. The heart. Damian started as a killer, but has grown to be a healer." As we see each of his sons doing exactly what Batman is narrating. The four of them then get a call saying Mr. Freeze has just attacked Gotham Zoo, as all four of them grapple hook away to stop Freeze. And Batman says to himself, "Some nights I watch them and wonder, if they're here, does Gotham still need me?" And with that, we're brought to the events that unfolded in DCKO issue 1, where the Joker impales Batman through the back and out of his chest, piercing him right through his Justice Buster 2 armor, killing him and or eliminating him from the DCKO tournament, encasing him inside a stone statue of himself. But as we see on the next page, Batman's statue is pinging and eventually he breaks free, as we see him teleported to Gotham. Captions then say, "It worked. The Justice League was allowed to prepare, to bring tools, weapons to help us in the tournament. I secretly brought apocalyptic armor outfitted with a special boom tube that would teleport me back home if I became inactive for too long. That way, I wouldn't be out of the fight if I lost a round." Of course not, because Batman always has a plan. Like, are we shocked at this point that even when Batman loses, he doesn't really lose because he had a plan in place that if he did lose, he'd come back? Gotta love it.
But before we move on, have you checked out the Variant merch shop yet? We've got shirts, hoodies, hats, and more importantly, we're about to drop several new designs just in time for the holidays. So be sure to keep an eye out for those on our merch shelf below, or you can go to variantcomics.com. Also, if you've ever thought about building your own merch brand on Shopify but didn't know where to start, you need to check out the company we've been using for years and today's sponsor, Printful. In fact, if you look at our YouTube merch shelf below, you'll see that it's powered by Printful and Shopify. Printful prints all of our gear on demand and their quality is amazing. They also make it really easy to create and sell our merch. Typically, building a merch brand comes with a lot of inventory risk. For instance, let's say you want to start selling hoodies. In the past, you'd have to pre-order and stock a bunch of the hoodies you plan to sell without knowing if the product will sell or not, which of course also ties up a lot of cash. But with Printful's print-on-demand service, you don't have to worry about that since all the products are printed and shipped only after an order comes in. It's that simple, no need to pre-order anything. You can also expand your product offerings with a few clicks and no stress. This allows us and you to create great merch for your community while they cover all the printing and shipping directly to your end customer. But don't just take my word for it. Click the link in the description and let Printful show you how easy it is to bring your merch ideas to life. Again, just click our link below.
Alright, so returning to Knightfight issue 1, after he breaks free, Batman's captions go on to say, "But this is not the Gotham I left behind. How long was I trapped? Did we win and make Gotham this?" He then says, "Watchtower, this is Batman. I'm back in Gotham. Report, Mr. Terrific, do you read?" But his comms on his wrist just short circuit. Then on the next page, we see a bunch of never before seen Robins swinging in saying, "It's the Bat who fell, the OG," as Batman looks at them saying, "Robins, but none that I know. The Bat who fell? Robins then continue to attack Batman, saying, I'm calling it in. This is Robin 52. We have an illegal Batman sighting. We need backup. Batman's captions then say, they're well trained, but not by me. I recognize their style, the swarm pattern, the speed and acrobatics of the attacks. They didn't sneak up on me. They have a flair for dramatics instead, and I suspect I know who taught them, just like I know they are not trying to put me down. They are leading me somewhere. I want answers, so I let them. I know the rooftops of Gotham better than anyone. I've run across them countless times, but something here is off, and I can't figure out what yet. At least my suspicion of who trained them is correct. As we see on the next page, Dick Grayson Batman jumping in with a Nightwing-inspired bat suit, saying, I warned you, Bruce. If you returned, it would be war. Batman says, Dick? He replies, oh, so you remember me. Good. Batman asks, how long ago did we defeat Darkseid? Who won the tournament? But Dick has no idea what Bruce is talking about, saying exactly that. Then following up saying, you know what you did. You put yourself in a Lazarus pit. You had your own special brand of midlife crisis. Your body was giving up on you, but you refused to give up on being Batman. I tried to help you, but you rejected me. You rejected all of us. We tried to stop you, and then you, Batman while fighting Dick, says, no, I was in a tournament to end Darkseid, to gain the power to defeat him and save us all. Dick says, do you hear yourself right now? The Lazarus pit drove you crazy, just like it did to Roz, Talia, Jason, and Selina. But this makes Batman go, Selina? Because in the main continuity, Selina is the only one of those four names Dick mentioned that never went into the Lazarus pit. Anyway, at this point, Dick is able to tie Batman up with a bat rope via his grapple gun, at which point he says, whatever Darkseid tournament you're talking about is all in your head. Let me show you what is real. What I made while you were gone, the Bat Tower. You and I have overcome some trauma. I realized, why not help others in the same way? Let everyone who wanted to be a Robin be one. I built a team with the Titans, so I took that idea and leveled it up. We've taken people from all over. I used the training you gave me and shaped it with the world. We created a support system that grew outside of Gotham in a way you never could. Now Robin Inc. has Robins in every major city in the world, run by Babs, Cass, Duke, Steph. Our numbers grow every day. The world is far from safe, but your mission continues as we see Cyborg, Starfire, Roy, and Raven all training these Robins around the world as well. Dick continues to say to Bruce, you were always too much of a control freak, Bruce. You didn't like to share, so I did what you couldn't. I trusted others. This is why I kept saying to you, you could stop. You could retire. As Dick takes off his cowl, revealing he's much older now with Mr. Terrific Fantastic gray sideburns. He continues to say, let your legacy continue with me. But Bruce simply replies, this is not you. Dick says, not me. Do you even know yourself anymore, Bruce? Bruce replies, this is not what I wanted for you. I didn't want you to continue the burden. I want you to have your own life. You created your own identity, and I wanted you to keep that. Dick looks over while saying, that's a lie. You didn't want us to take the burden from you because you refused to give up being Batman, because you know that without it, you're nothing. Bruce replies, maybe that's true, but I have to ask, you've built all of this, and yet you still have Robins. Would you let any of them become Batman? Dick essentially doesn't know how to answer as Bruce continues, this isn't right, and I need to find out why. Dick then puts his cowl back on while saying, I know that look, Bruce. Don't do it. You're not going to escape again. I'm giving you one chance. Stand down. But Bruce just puts his fist up saying, did you forget who trained you? Nightwing then grabs his Eskrima sticks and says, I've beaten you before, old man. I'll do it again. The two then start fighting as Bruce's inner monologue says, I never want to fight my family, ever. Even now, I'm in awe of him, how he moves. I always focus on fighting fast and hard. It takes thought behind every move, calculation, but he is fluid, graceful, muscle memory makes his moves effortless. Dick was born for this. Dick then asks, you out of breath yet, old man? Bruce responds by uppercutting him, saying, you asked me to stay down, but if you're really Dick Grayson, you know that is impossible. As he lays Dick out, he then says, let go. We're finding out what really happened to get me here, together. He then tries to pull Dick up by the cape, but Dick says, nice try. I only wear the cape out of tradition. I learned to fight without it. Can't you just admit it, Bruce? As he backhands Bruce with one of his sticks while saying, I'm a better Batman than you because I trust people and don't bleed with fear. Bruce, while on the floor, says, I held back. I didn't want to hurt him, telling us that if Bruce really wanted to take him down, he could have, but Dick's like a son, so of course he was holding back. Dick then tells Bruce, listen to me, really listen. I'll throw you in Arkham and lose the key. This is the end, Bruce. You're not Batman anymore. Bruce then says to himself, maybe Dick is right. My time is up. Dick then puts his hand out to help Bruce up while saying, you did it. Gotham doesn't need you. You can stop obsessing now. As Bruce says to himself, I'm too blind to see it's his turn. He did something I couldn't. But as he says that, the mother box in his armor starts pinging. As he says, it's still receiving a signal from the heart of Apocalypse. He then stands up and says to Dick, I think I know what's happening here, Dick. What happened with the tournament? What I have to do? Dick says, please, for you, for me, don't do this. Just stop. But Batman says, fight me. Now, if you don't know what Bruce is talking about saying, I think I know what happened here, what happened with the tournament, well, if you remember in DCKO issue 1, it stated that these tournaments are all going to be different and that each hero is going to be forced to do things they wouldn't normally do, forced to fight and even kill loved ones, as Batman just realized that this is probably all part of the tournament, so he can't hold back. He has to take Dick out, which is why he's like, fight me, as it's the only way Batman can move on to the next round, telling us that Batman's tournament is probably going to be fighting a different Robin turned Batman, because as we know, Red Hood also became Batman in this series, as teased by artist Dan Mora. Anyway, once Batman engages Dick again, Dick says, haven't you done enough? Bruce says, if you're Batman, where's Jason, Tim, and Damian? Where are your brothers? Dick, while putting Bruce in a headlock, says, don't you remember? You let your fear of us replacing you drive you insane long before you went into the Lazarus pit. You said there could only be one Batman. There could only be you. They're not here because you killed them. As we see Batman with a shocked look on his face with the comic ending. Okay, so this is crazy. Batman in this universe, or whatever universe he's in, has now killed Jason, Tim, and Damian so that no one else could replace him as the Bat. That's insane. But like I just said, we know via Dan Mora, the artist of the series, that there's a Red Hood version of Batman. So maybe in the next issue, after Batman defeats Dick, he enters the next round in the tournament, which teleports him or puts him up against the Red Hood Batman. And that I cannot wait for. This was a great tie into DCKO. They are just killing it across the board. I love all the little Easter eggs in there to the Batman lore, saying Batman's holding back and that he could really beat Dick if he wanted to, but he's not gonna because that's his son. I also like that Bruce admits that even with everything said and Bruce holding back, he admits that Dick is a better Batman because he's willing to trust people. I really like the idea of Bruce getting older and can't accept that his body won't let him be Batman anymore, kind of like where Batman Beyond went. But with this version, he goes inside of the Lazarus pit to make his body young and whole again, at which point he goes crazy and kills off his sons. But then somehow Dick survives, takes over the mantle, and creates Robin Inc. I love this so much, I kind of want this to be its own ongoing series. But that's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think? We're always curious, so let us know your thoughts down in the comments about DCKO, the Absolute Universe, everything DC is doing, because they are killing it right now. So sound off in the comments, and we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.